Leslie gets here and get it. Is that going to start?
Yes, it's 1700.
Yep. That's right.
It's now 5 o'clock. We have 3 members present. I would like to call to order the Geauga Public Health meeting of December 18th, 2024. And to open the meeting, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can all stand, face the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And again, with Carolyn here, Dr. Root here, myself here, I will declare a quorum. We anticipate Melissa and Ashley being here. The next element on the next order of business, the minutes from November 2024, and we will need a motion and a second to approve these. Any discussion or corrections on those minutes?
No additions, corrections from me.
I'm sorry?
Nothing
No.
from me. You good, Dr. Rude?
I'm good.
All
I
right.
move we approve the minutes as.
And I second. And we can have just a verbal vote.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? So the vote of the 3 present, in agreement, we approve the minutes of November 20th, 2024. From next on the, well, actually I skipped it. The point of business 2.03 is certification, delivery of official notice of meeting, and I would ask Adam to.
Those were delivered.
All right, so we've completed that. And then at this point, going on to the 4th order of business, the health district reports. Again, Ron is not here, he's out sick, and Dan Lark's here, Adam's here, and we'll start with the 401, the population health reports.
No updates other than what's in the report currently.
Any questions at all?
Not for me.
Nope.
And then 402, the environmental health report.
The only thing I'd like to add is in the next month or two, we're just about wrapping up the first year of the operation of maintenance sampling stuff. So we should have a report coming together for you guys just so you can see the results, how many times we had to go back to properties, how many weren't working when we first got there and stuff like that. So we should have that, hopefully the report next month for that.
How are things looking so far?
Pretty good. I mean, we probably go back, I bet you we may be up to 500 to 600 sites we've had to go back multiple times.
Oh, wow.
Because, and it could be, and I don't have the breakdown right now, but it could be as much as like there's fences they're behind to get permission.
Right, that
But
makes
there are a
sense.
fair amount too that just aren't working when we show up.
Okay. So what percentage of the systems are you finding are failing?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay.
We'll get all that together for the
Alright.
next meeting hopefully.
Well, not
So,
for me, but
well, we can forward on to the commissioners.
I was just curious if it's looking bad or what the situation is.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, because there's kind of 10 years of unknown. So
Right.
it'll be interesting to see for 15 years, so.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous for you
Yeah.
guys, but.
Okay.
But that's all, thank you.
Thank you. And then 4.03, order of business, the administrator's report. Adam, or?
Yeah. Besides what Mr. Lark brought up, and just trying to wrap up year end, and then getting ready for the audit that'll occur next year. For the financials, we have an every 2-year audit. We're just getting ready for those things and getting ready to get the 2026 budget in place because the HDAC will vote on that. And for those that, I believe I sent an update email out, but for those that weren't aware, the HDAC is going to wait until the March meeting to replace, to fill Mrs. Brakey's unexpired term, is my understanding. So in March, we will have 2 spots that we will be filling. So they will hopefully be posting that application soon.
Okay.
As just a reminder, the health department doesn't do that. The HDAC is separate from us. I know it's usually a question we get. That's not us that posts it. We generally can be in on the interviews in terms of many times the person may want to know what does the Board of Health do?
Yeah.
And then we'll try to give an update, because not everyone understands everything the Board of Health does. So we try to be available for that if they need things. But other than that, the HDAC handles everything from the in and the out.
Do you post on your social media though?
This year we will. So
Okay.
I've requested this year that the applications be received via email. In the past, they were physically sent. So we will be able to post the whole notation, and then they can submit everything. I don't know the email they're going to use off the top of my head. It'll be Jason Sutter's, I'm assuming.
Okay.
But that will go and be on our Facebook with a notation of some sort that is not us doing the hiring.
Right.
It's not an
right.
employee of the health department, but
Right.
we are trying to share it for knowledge. And the Legal and Voters also offered to share it as well as soon as it's available.
Yeah, they're pretty good about it.
Yeah, so it will be posted as soon as we can.
Since Dr. Hendrickson is a physician, does that mean that you do not need 2 applicants, one of which is a physician, or do you still need a physician position?
Because he's a physician, yours license is still active?
Yes.
Yes, I was 99% sure, but I don't want to make an accusation here. We should not need one then. Obviously, the HDAC can appoint who they'd like to appoint. The hope, though, is that, I think I mentioned this during the HDAC meeting, the quarterly, the HDAC is supposed to make a board that's representative of the community. So it should be a cross-section. That should not be all doctors or lawyers or physicians or teachers or whatever. It should be a diverse cross-section of the community, of income levels, of jobs, of backgrounds. And that way, when the board takes action, like for septics or something else, they would take the whole community into effect, not just, if let's say you all lived in Burton, okay, well, we all are in Burton and we're not impacted by whatever. It should be a a diverse cross section. So, yeah. Other than that, no update though.
Okay. And thank you. And the next business order 4.0 for the Health Commission's report.
I don't believe Ron had any updates that he made aware of me other than what's in his report.
Okay. And then the next element is 5.0, the 5.01 old business, Geauga County Administrator, building rent and space discussions.
Yeah, so this will be removed in the future. I mean, to my knowledge, we still don't have an MOU yet that I've seen, but, finalized MOU. But to my knowledge, we're not gonna be charged, rent. It may be some covering the cost of electricity or possibly the cleaning costs, but it should be significantly reduced from our original assumption of $48,000-ish. So this will be the last time it's on there. This is more of just a closing it out thing in case you have any questions, but we should be good to go on that one. Happy to report.
Thank you. And the next element of order of business is 6, and I believe we have 6 resolutions.
Yes.
And the first is the 6.01. The 60101 Financial Reports Resolution 2412-060101. The 060102, the Resolution 2024-13. Then and now purchase order declares farms not to exceed $17,594,000, and then 6.0103 Resolution 2024-14. Then now purchase order to Wet Inc. Excavating not to exceed $13,800.
Yeah, so right now we'll just be voting on 6.0101.
And
So that's
then in sequence.
Yes, and so Dr. Henderson has that now.
And we need a motion and a second?
Yep,
Sorry?
yes.
Can we have a motion and a second?
I move 6.01.01 Financial Reports Resolution 24-12-06-0101 that the financial reports to approve payment of bills as listed in the recapitulation sheets attached to these minutes be adopted.
Yep.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Of course. I'm here, guys.
I was just slowly looking at you.
So
waiting.
I kind of have
We
a
need to
dumb
put
question,
that.
but why are the financials so
Just
thin this month?
So we're a week early in the board, and also with the end of the year, most of the POs have to be closed out. So
Okay.
we kind of, it's not a freeze, but for the most part, we usually try to reduce all expenditures in the month of December. And then we reopen POs in January and then start it back in January.
Okay.
So actually, I just want to spend less money for you, and so that'd be nice.
Well, all right.
Thought there'd be no questions.
And how are we looking on the cooperative agreement, like projected costs versus actual costs?
I will run that. I was trying to work on it this week and I didn't get to it, but we're still well within what we're supposed to be in terms of the budget. And the thing that we're still holding out on, Dan and I talked about a lot, is that the septic enforcement, or the O&M enforcement side of things.
Yeah.
We still are holding off on that. We're trying to wait until we're as positive as possible on a lot of things. We're also trying to figure out if there's any additional revenue coming in. We've proposed to the prosecutor's office having our own WPCLF, Water Pollution Control Loan Fund, it'd be our version of that here.
Right,
so
right.
that if there's, if it costs $100,000 to run the program and we bring in $120,000 with late fees or fines, that $20,000 theoretically would be put into a fund that would help low-income Georgians we've talked about it as much as covering their maintenance costs, their contract costs, repair costs, a lot of things, pumping. We have to work with the prosecutor's office to see what's actually doable.
Right.
But they didn't seem super concerned as long as we followed kind of what the feds already had in place for WPCLF, given that that's a well-established, well-versed program.
Yeah.
So we're still working on that. But in general, with some of the cost cutting that we've done and some of the cost savings, we're in a really good place right now.
Okay, that's awesome. And so you still feel with the cooperative agreement that we are saving money in compared to if we had our own health commissioner and our own everything?
Yeah, so the easiest positions to allocate that cost savings to would be your health commissioner. On average would be $100,000 to $150,000 a year in just salary. That's a general master's degree experienced health commissioner.
Yeah.
We have, I think there's charged about $25,000 or $30,000 off the top of my head. I have to pull the contract exactly. And then nursing director, that's shared. It's a minimal cost. That would be another 80 to 90 in salary alone plus benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be more than that. And then Dan Sinclair is a shared asset for septic and things like that. That would be easily double the cost. And then Gina's a shared asset as well, and that would be easily another 40 to 50,000 a year. So we are saving significantly, I would say. And as I mentioned to the staff today when we had a meeting, was to my knowledge, our call times, the wait times are way down. The satisfaction has been high. I think talking to all of you, we have no complaints that I'm really aware of. I mean, I'm sure there's some complaints, but there's not like, hey, I waited 2 weeks to get a call back like it was 5 years ago.
Right.
And we fixed the House Bill 110 issue problem. We have worked, I think, very closely, Dan and his team, with the public to help them out on numerous cases that I think before usually were turned down.
Yeah.
And so I think in general, it's working very well. And there's actually other people who've reached out to Lake and Geauga for how it was worked out.
Yeah.
We're looking at the same thing.
Yeah, good. And do you feel like we're gonna save on the accreditation costs as well?
Yeah, we are still working with them. Ron's been talking to them a lot about how some ideas he has, because personal opinion, but I've talked to Dan about this. My thing is always because EH is obviously the biggest department. What does accreditation do for Dan's team where it's better service to the public?
Right.
I think there's a lot more paperwork for Dan's team, but I don't see a benefit necessarily to the public where they get $50,000+ of ease and somehow.
Yeah, you get a plaque on your wall, right? I mean, that's.
Yeah. That's how I feel
Yeah.
sometimes, yes. There's good sides to it, but I think a lot of it it's a lot of paperwork that we have to fill out.
And are there more counties in Ohio, adjacent counties in Ohio, that are following this model? that you know of?
Not yet. We're the first in the nation that we're aware of, but there have been some that have reached out asking us or the state as to how it worked, how it would look, because they don't want to merge. Because as I mentioned to all of you guys when we talked about this, I would never merge because then
Right.
you lose your voice.
Yeah.
But everyone's doing the same thing. Is how do you save money?
Right.
Because the revenue base isn't there.
Right.
Maybe there was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so how do you better serve the public and do it more efficiently?
Well, and the regulations have increased.
Yes.
So like the services you have to provide, the fees you have to
Dan was
jump
fast on
through.
that one. He's like,
How
oh
do you
yeah.
really feel, Dan?
I mean, I've been doing it for almost 30 years, and just thinking about what the size of the rule books when I first started versus now
Right.
is, my first job, I was a generalist and I handled every single program. And now I shudder to try to
Yeah.
do a good job according to the rules of all those programs.
Right, just because there's so many rules.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
And I think one other thing to mention is through the cross-jurisdictional, Geauga is part of the training that we do for the septic providers and service providers, and Dan and his team did that at La Malfa last
Yeah.
month, I think.
Yeah.
And there's a national conference coming in next year, and the people in this area, even coming from multiple counties away, asked to still have it because they still felt this was a better value. than other ones.
Mhm.
And I think I talked to Dan and his team as to, if you're providing enough value, they go, we'd rather be here than a national one. That says something, I think. And so it's a great CU opportunity that costs the public very little, but offers a lot of benefit.
Any other discussion on 60101?
Nope.
And then the next element of business is
Here's
We
the
gotta
vote.
vote.
Oh, sorry, we
Yep.
thought we did vote. So, and we knew a roll call.
This can be a all yea or nay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstentions and nays? So passed. Does someone have the piece of paper, the form
Oh, this?
for
This is-
signatures?
Yeah, I don't know if that's.
And the next element of business then is the 60102, the resolution 2024-13, then and now purchase order to Claridge Farms not to exceed $17,594.
So I'm confused. Which one are, because that's not 601.02, that's 601.03.
There's a new agenda in front of you
there's a new
guys.
agenda.
Sorry.
Okay, so
We,
it's this
due to
one.
being year end,
Okay,
we,
yeah, I got it.
yeah, I have to wait that. Dan, do you want to mention anything about this one specifically? I don't recall.
No, it was kind of a mess up on a couple different parts, that's why it didn't get paid. So the people who pay our bills kind of took it out of a different fund for a different account, so that was, then there was also, I think, a mess up with our guy who was forwarding stuff a little
Okay.
bit, so.
Is this a
Yes,
WCLS?
both of these are actually.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. That's what I figured, just wanted
Yeah.
to ask. All right, so I'll,
As much as the program is good and helps people, one of the biggest pain in the butt programs is all the paperwork, so.
Well, I hope it's worth it for the.
Depends on the week.
Yeah, right. The people that are getting their
Yeah.
systems appreciate it, I'm sure. So I'll move to approve resolution 2024-13 to authorize a payment of a then and now purchase order to Cleric Farms, total not to exceed $17,594.
Second.
And a roll call vote. Start with me.
Yeah, if you want to. So Dr. Henderson,
Yes.
Dr. Rude,
Yes.
Ms. Berkey,
Yes.
Melissa, since I'm not
Yes.
gonna butcher any last names.
Not
even trying.
Ours looks like Ashley right now.
I almost saw them on
Yep,
too.
so we're all good.
They miss the ladies up all the time.
So we're done there.
Yes.
The next element of business is 601.03, the resolution 2024-14, then and now purchase order to Wet Inc. Excavating not to exceed $13,800.
Dan, you have anything on that one?
This is one that was kind of a little weird where it was two guys who partnered together, signed a contract under a name, and then they submitted the invoice and they submitted under the other guy's name. So it kind of got held up in being refused to be paid for, and then by the time everything, the new invoices came in and stuff, then it was under the wrong names, and so that kind of got caught up in not catching the right invoice name on that one.
And he seemed to accept that he put in the wrong, like, he billed him as himself and not as his business.
Yeah.
And we can't invoice from the person when the
Yeah.
business signed the contract. So we had to get a new invoice.
So we need a motion.
Yep, need a first and a second?
Do we have a motion and then a second?
I move to approve resolution 2024-14, then and now purchase order to Wet Inc. Excavating not to exceed $13,800.
Second.
And okay.
All right, let's do a roll call again.
I vote yes.
All right, Dr. Rude,
Yes.
Ms. Berkey,
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Okay.
And then, are we ready for the next element?
Yeah.
The next element of business is 6.02, resolution establishing day, time, and place of monthly Board of Health meetings for the year 2025.
So we have a couple like we had last time where there's either holidays in the week or it kind of doesn't align. So January would be the third Wednesday. I know Ms. Brakey's super interested in this, since she has to be here, January, I believe it's March And then November, December.
And I think
The
April
third.
also, because April.
Or sorry, April. You're right, it's April, not March. January, April, November, December. Those are their holidays in those weeks, or some, we're not able to be present due to other outside commitments. So if you guys are okay with that, that would be otherwise it'd be the fourth Wednesday for everything else.
Did you think about changing them all to the third Wednesday?
I literally told Gina, I said, somebody's gonna ask me, why don't you just change them all at this point? So the third Wednesday tends to be when, the other subdivisions have theirs, and so
Oh, okay.
we've just stayed away from it in case somebody wants to attend. As many of them like to come here and talk to us.
Right.
I'm also on the board for Geauga and Lake Lifeline, and that's our meeting night is the third Wednesday. So
Okay.
I'm usually at that board meeting on Wednesday nights. So, if there's
So we need,
first and second.
we need a motion, then a second.
I move to approve resolution 6.02 establishing a day, time, place of monthly Board of Health meetings for 2025.
And I second the resolution establishing date, time, place of monthly Board of Health meetings for the year 2025. And roll call?
Nope, let's just be a general.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Oh, look at this.
Listen.
All right.
That makes sense.
All right, motion passes.
I'd approve it if there was only 3 of us, but I'm gonna be difficult.
Well, because I got an extra one.
I get to be an extra, I get to do whatever I want, I should just voted no. It should all be the third Wednesday.
And then the next order of business is 6.03, permission to allocate $20,000 for an O&M mailing cost.
Yeah, so this is just, the appropriations will be there, but this is more just a notice to you guys that that is the mailing cost.
Yeah.
It's not because we wanna send out a gajillion letters, it's we have to do certified mail, and then we have to do sometimes recertified if something happens, or send out again, I should say recertified, send again. So those can be $6 to $8 or more per mailer, and so we don't know how many we're gonna have, but we expect there'll be a few, and this is to ensure that we have that, but just to make you guys
This
aware
is
that
for
that's.
people that are delinquent, or?
So this will be the whole, for the
Yeah.
whole program.
Oh, okay,
So there'll be
okay.
initial letters going out, which will be normal mail.
Okay, and then the certified are the
Yeah, so we
follow-up.
send out reminder postcards, and so there's, yeah.
No, I know all about how expensive mail is.
Yes.
Usually someone tells me, this would mean there's X letters per person going out, and we say, well, no, but if they're $8 a piece, that's where this number skyrockets, is, you know, if you have to do 1,000 of them at $8 a piece, it's a lot, so. Anyways, we can do it all, or we need a first and second, I guess, on that, but.
So we have a motion and then a second.
I move 6.03 permission to allocate $20,000 for O&M mailing costs be approved.
And I second the motion, permission to allocate $20,000 for O&M mailing costs.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
I have a question. What
Yes.
if we don't use all that money? What's gonna happen to it?
It literally just goes back into the general, well, it just wouldn't be used. The appropriations, that is likely gonna, I shouldn't say general fund, because that would be it'd be the, for sale property fund that most of this comes out of. It would just stay in there.
Okay.
And then what Dan and I will do at the end of the year is we will look at, as accurately as we can project, if we thought we were gonna spend 20, we only spent 10, can we reduce fees?
Okay.
Or can we use that somewhere else, in terms of like, can that money be allocated somewhere else? But right now, it's like Dan was saying earlier, we don't know, and right now, we're basing it off of our best guess of how many we'd probably need additional letters.
Okay.
This year should be a jump up in mailing, because
Yeah.
we'll be at our first really big group of enrollments, so that we split up into 5 years.
Okay. I was just gonna ask, you said for sale property fund, you meant O&M fund?
Yeah, well, so
Or is it,
we
we
can't
just
rename,
renamed it?
we can't rename funds until they've
Okay.
been vacant for a while, so we put that in there
It's the
originally,
same fund,
just to
okay.
use it, yeah.
I gotcha.
Any other discussion on?
Oh, sorry, yep.
Sorry.
And now they asked me to scroll the agenda up, so I got it.
It's
Oh,
not time
sorry.
for citizens' remarks.
And the next order of business, 6.04, permission to refer owners of semi-public sewage treatment systems for legal action. Permissions hereby requested from Board of Health to refer owners semi-public HB 110 sewage treatment systems not renewed the yearly inspection certificates to Geauga County Prosecutor for legal action. And it's
Dan-
now 13, isn't it, or 14?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Wait,
we
that's
took
the
one off the other side of it, but it's that
Right.
list.
We're
So
referring
there's
to the
only 13 now.
prosecutor.
Cause it was 14 before,
Probably, yes.
so.
And I have to double check. I don't know if it came off that one or if it came off the other list. There's another list we have as well.
It looks like it's 13.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
there's
just-
13,
I
all
just
right.
counted, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we'll correct that?
Yeah, Dan, do you have anything you wanna update on these ones?
No, these are just the House Bill 110 systems, so they're commercial septic systems, non-residential for the most part, and just these are what's left that people haven't paid for their inspection fees for the upcoming year.
Okay, thank you. That's,
So we need a motion?
yes.
We have a motion and a second for 6.04.
I move 6.04, permission to refer owners of semi-public sewage treatment systems for legal action be approved.
And a second motion, permission to refer owners of semi-public sewage treatment systems for legal action.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, so the next one
Is
is
6.05, discussion regarding live streaming of Child Public Health Board of Health meetings. Discussion regarding live streaming of Georgia Public Health Board of Health meetings.
Yes, so.
Adam?
I believe I have sent you all an update email as to the communication I received. I think I actually forwarded his email directly, that the county is no longer going to be paying for the streaming services. It's a significant dollar amount, so I did not commit us to or against anything, given that the board would have to make that decision in general. I did send you guys the links to view the videos and how many people view them. The question really comes down to, does the board want to allocate funds for that of $15,000 to $20,000? Or does the board not want to, or to wait and see, or to see where the finances come out at? It's a question, honestly, for all of you, as I don't have a solid answer without communicating with all of you first, and this is our first time to meet and talk. So we did, there was a question asked, and I apologize, I forget who asked it, but there was a question, I think someone called me and said, can we do it on our own? That was a question I'd received. We did try that during COVID. It was during COVID. What tended to happen was that we either had people wanting to make remarks via the stream, which right now is turned off, and we were trying to answer those, which was very tough because we had to have someone else stand here and do it.
Yeah, we don't need to do that.
Yeah, if the audio is not there, they tend to text me. I can't help with the meeting and try to figure out audio
Yeah.
issues, which was the bigger issue we had most of the time. So there's a lot that goes into that. It's a question as to how you guys want to handle that. I'm not saying we can or can't. It would just be figuring out how to do it, and if we have someone stay here, it is overtime, because obviously Dan and I are usually part of the meeting, which means we'd have to have someone who would get overtime to be there to help run that specifically, until a time that something becomes available again.
Have you talked to ADP about options?
Right now, the last communication I just had was that they may be looking at options, but right now it was just, as of right now, 1/1, it'll be cut off.
Okay. Cause I recently talked about the different options. I'll talk about this discreetly, but, and, so there may be technology in the commissioners' chambers, if you move the meetings there, that you would be able to utilize.
Yeah, there was discussion if they get it working and we can stream from it, there's potential if we go back up there, because I don't think this office is wired for it. But for those who remember the
Correct.
commissioner's room, there's a camera that sits.
There's multiple cameras.
Yeah, I
there's
just
one
haven't-
behind and one in front. Yeah.
I just haven't ever seen that work.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah,
But,
so I know there are cameras there. I know there are TVs there.
Yes.
We've just never been able to sync them as far as I recall.
And that was actually
Well-
discussed at the recent commissioners meeting,
Yeah.
was the IT
Yes.
company may not have fulfilled
Right.
their duties.
And Dr. Root, just so you know, and everyone else on the board, this was a Michigan company that developed the system.
As a graduate of The Ohio State University, I understand that.
But there are also portable systems that ADP has that are allegedly easy to operate. Because I know, like, if you look at Budget Commission,
Mhm.
like, they push a button and they use Microsoft Teams and they make that all work. So my point is just, there may be an option that the
Mhm.
commissioners utilize, that the Board of Health could also utilize, that is not $20,000 a year. That being said, you guys, I mean, I feel like this is kind of not my problem pretty soon, but, not to keep like drilling that in, but I mean, if I were you, I would kind of keep going with what you're doing temporarily, just knowing that longer term, I think there will be options available
Yeah, and that's,
that could be shared.
and my understanding
Why
is
not?
there likely in the future will be options. They
Yes.
were not, I was not told they're available right now or ready, but there may be.
I personally am opposed to spending large dollars on this item. I believe in full transparency and want the public to be informed. I realize that this may put more pressure on our local press for having to actually physically be present to cover a meeting. Because I think what we do here has value to the community to be informed, be it things they agree with and things they might disagree with. I'm open to full transparency. I just, as a steward of the budget that is so tight for our board, I just can't see footing the cost with advances in technology. It should be cheaper than that. And I have a hard time approving something that is, at this point, seems out of kilter with what an appropriate budget should be.
What was
Wouldn't
the
be
cost
best thing
again?
right now.
$20,000.
It's like 20-ish.
A year?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
a year.
you're paying for someone's time,
Mhm.
is
Right.
really where that cost is, it's not.
And that's most of where, and that's
We're not disparaging you.
He does a great job.
Yeah.
He's worth every penny.
He's like, your audio just cut out. So
But I think we need to be good stewards of the limited budget that we have and find a way that can be done. And whether that means, as Ms. Brakey has suggested, continuing for now on an extremely limited basis, I'm concerned about that approach only because it doesn't seem, it seems that it's very difficult to get this ball to roll down the hill, to get actual movement on this issue, because we were in that room upstairs
Mhm.
ever since I've been on the board until recently, and we never got any of the technology.
Does it have to be an annual contract, or can they do it like a monthly rate until something else is figured out?
I'm without asking the person behind the camera right now, I would assume there's a monthly option. I'd make an assumption.
Okay.
Because I'd feel,
As
I was
long as-
already asking a question, I'd feel bad putting him on the spot as he's
Yeah.
recording your audio,
Right.
video.
Are all the meetings throughout the county
No.
video?
Not all of
them.
No. Well, that's,
It's hit or miss is what I've noticed.
I mean, I think there needs to be some consistency.
Well, so I think Ms. Brake actually was exposed to this with some of the, with people talking about this, as county commissioner. If you're elected, you can make your own decisions. If you're appointed, some of those decisions can be made for you. But it depends, because not everyone's under the county commissioner's guise, as an example.
Right.
So we're not under the county commissioner's guise. Prosecutor makes his own decisions, auditor makes his own decisions, treasurer.
Yeah.
So it depends on that. It's not a flip a switch and everyone has to. It's
But
subjective
there's
to.
like, yeah, like boards like mental health, library,
Yeah.
board, I don't think any of those are recorded.
I don't
But
believe so.
I do think that the problem is for the Board of Health now is there is an expectation that these meetings are gonna be
Mhm.
recorded.
Do we have a sense of how many people are watching?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
on average it's 40 to 4. Well, it's not unique views. It's views total. It was 40 to 50, with some spiking as high as 200, which were more like the hot topic meetings.
Right.
If I had to assume, I know like our staff, when they do the minutes, they will go back through that and make sure, because
Right.
it may they may hear Melissa speaking and think it's Carolyn, and then they have to be like, okay, I can send the video. It's Carolyn.
Well, same
not
thing
here.
for the reporters, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So there could be the same person could be watching it 5 or 6 times
Right.
to get the minutes right or their story right, and that doesn't count as one view, is my understanding. If they're going back, like not just rewinding, but going back and forth.
And at 40 to 50, that's about 500 per.
Here.
If it was 40
Correct.
or 50, if
Right.
it was 10,
Correct.
Yeah,
it's
just
even more.
potentially different.
yeah, it just depends. But again, I will talk with Frank Antonucci, he's from ADP, because he had mentioned there could be options in the future, I'm saying there weren't any right now.
I think you should have a conversation with Frank before you
I'll follow up with him.
put a nail in the coffin.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, there's an option, but it's not being said when the option's available there. But I mean, obviously, they're working the best they can to do it. It's just a question of, is that in effect tomorrow, Tuesday, Friday? We don't know. That's
Yeah.
really. But I still want to bring this to all of you because obviously it was sent to me, and I don't want you guys to think like, hey, we just stopped communicating. I mean, I want you guys to be aware of that.
Do we know when the payment ceases?
1/1 is my understanding.
Okay.
12/31. 1/1, there's nothing available.
So I suggest we try to work out a solution, but it's possible that January might not be recorded.
I'll reach out to the ADP side and see what they have available.
Right.
If we do go back upstairs tonight, we can't go upstairs. It was just, there's that room it's just different when you're dealing with certain things.
Right.
This one's a little bit easier to deal with, so this is more ideal, but
And there's no other room in this building?
not large enough. Well, sorry,
The
this
other
more
third
optimal.
floor.
yeah, the third floor
conference room
has the bigger room.
Right,
That one is larger, but
but
I
it's still in the third floor. so
yeah, and I
those
don't
are
think
kinda-
that has that connection either. I don't think
It does, that one
it?
is wired, yeah, I don't know if that one has built-in cameras, but,
I've never seen cameras.
But
There's a
they-
big projector in the middle. but
right,
there's not
and
a
they
camera.
have like a screen that,
That folds out.
Yeah.
We used to have that out when we had meetings.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's the big projector that's in that room. There's not a camera. I mean, there's security cameras, but not like a streaming
Right,
camera.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, as far as I recall, I usually stare at the ceiling, but I remember the projector.
And I have great confidence in you, Adam, in understanding the sentiments of the board, that we're not looking to avoid transparency, we actually want to promote it, and if it can be done at a reasonable cost, I think we'd all support it.
Yeah.
We just are looking that be a reasonable cost, and
Hmm.
I don't consider $20,000 per year to be a reasonable cost.
No. And I appreciate that. I will talk and see what we can get down to and see what other options or what options in general are available. And maybe as this changes, maybe more are coming together, figuring out is there a bigger contract ahead or something else. I'll figure that out.
So any other discussion on this element?
I don't think so. No vote or anything. I just want to make.
Right.
I just wanted. If it's not on the agenda, I may forget to bring it up. So I want to make sure.
Is there a way to find out what other counties are doing that are like, or, you know?
Yeah, so I did reach out to a couple different people I know at different, not just health departments, but everywhere else. It was a hodgepodge of
Okay.
mixture. Some were doing it their own. Now, what I will say is, so we meet after hours, the Board of Health does. A number of boards meet during the day. So it's like at 8 a.m. or it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever. So they could have staff sitting there
Staff push
doing
the
it.
button.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Whereas, for all of those that do remember, when we were first in this building, the doors locked automatically and you couldn't get in after 5. I'd have someone sit out there, and we paid them overtime to sit out there and really open the door for people for half an hour. It's one of those things, whereas if it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Gotcha.
we'd just have somebody here on staff and I'd say, hey, take your laptop down there, do your work while you open the door,
Yeah.
or direct people.
One of the thoughts just occurred to me, Lake County has that education center.
Yeah, Education Service Center for Lake
Right,
Geography.
where they do all sorts of
Mhm.
wild, crazy things. And they may have some kind of program along these lines. And they probably would know more than us, and we could ask them and see what they.
Yeah, so we've
So
actually.
You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, we've worked with them before to create different things for us, so I can always reach out to the ESC and see what they say.
But a live stream system that,
Yeah, Auburn has its own media center. I just don't know if they would. It's mostly students. I don't know if they'd send at 5 o'clock. It's a different story than 2 in the
right,
afternoon.
but they're whoever's the
Yeah.
educator.
No, I will ask. Yeah.
Be a good intern.
Yeah. Some volunteer credits.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on this?
No, sir.
And the next order of business, 6.06, discussion
Yeah.
regarding safe communities.
So the Safe Communities grant is one that originally Lake had it, and they transferred to Geauga. There's a Lake Safe Communities and Geauga Safe Communities. This is for traffic safety type of things. Lake had both Geauga and Lake when Geauga gave it up years ago. Then we transferred it back to Geauga from Lake and said, hey, run on your own. With the cross-jurisdictional, one thing we didn't account for, and again, this is the first time a CJA, a cross-jurisdictional CJA has been implemented. We were doing the billing, and when Lake billed Geauga, we then would bill the grant internally. Well, the grant has said, no, you have to wait until the Geauga auditor cuts the check for the invoice that Geauga sent. Well, if the check is not cut till, if we invoice by the 10th, the Board of Health president signs it generally at the meeting, we're invoiced, if the check may go out at the end of that month or even the next month, you can be talking 60 days after the first charge was incurred. We generally only have 45 days by the end of the grant to bill everything. So we're running into, there's a discussion, we're actually having them come out and we're gonna have a discussion with them as to how they think it should be best billed.
Yeah.
Because right now we're running into that. It's just not a loophole. And we did make them aware and the state that other counties are looking at programs like this to save money. I mean, schools are already doing it. You see sheriff's offices and people like looking at these types of things for services. Not specifically here in Geauga, just other counties are seeing it as they try to save money. They're gonna have to be a little more flexible with how they figure these things out because it's not gonna be as easy as it used to be. And we do know of other counties that hold other counties' grants because they can't maintain the grant. So they do know this type of situation exists. It's just figuring out where that medium is. And so they're gonna come out and talk with us and try to work with us and figure out where that's gonna be and how it's gonna look. But I want to bring it to your guys' attention because it was definitely, I understood their process, but as I tried to explain to them, when Lake bills Geauga, the bill was incurred. And they're saying not until the paycheck is cut. And I'm saying, well, that could be a month later. Like that's a significant time difference. And they just don't like that. So I understand it, but we need to work with them and sit down and talk and say, how should this look? How can we improve it? And how can they help us? And so I want to make sure you guys are aware of that, just so we're gonna have that discussion with them.
How large is that grant?
It's like $43,000.
That's what I thought.
It's
It
not
was like
hundreds of thousands. Yes, it's like
Right.
43,000. It's ironically it's one of the grants that is one of the biggest pains in the keisters because it's one of those ones that they don't cover lunches, they don't cover breaks, but you still have to do the work. And so you do the work for the grant, but you don't get reimbursed 100%. And they still say you have to do it. And that's kind of a weird thing where most grants are like, if you're working and your break occurs during that work, we pay for all of it. This grant does not. And they only cover like, I think it's a certain percentage of that person. They can't bill 100% of their time either. So it's definitely a weird grant with how it works. It's a good grant. It's a very good grant. It's just, they have very different rules than most of our grants do. So I just wish you guys are aware of that because that's something we'll have discussion with Dan and I will meet with them and the finance team and see where that goes to and what their thoughts are. And then we'll bring back their thoughts to you guys. Well, some of you, because it'll be in January.
Good luck with that.
Thank you. Other than that, I don't want to belabor that horse, but I just want to make sure you guys are aware that we're meeting with the state on that. I have nothing else.
Do we have?
No, I was going to do public comment first. And then we
Yes. Next on our agenda is public comment. Citizens remark at 7.0. Session will last 20 minutes unless the board moves to extend. 2 minutes per speaker to make comments and ask questions. The board will answer questions after having the opportunity to investigate responses following the meeting. This is not a press conference where answers should be expected on the spot. And lastly, board responses will be recorded and publicly filed meeting minutes. Any citizen remarks?
We have a new gentleman, so I'm going to ask you first because you're new.
I have nothing.
Okay. The Geauga Power couple in the back.
I just wanted to say that I think that the recording of the sessions of meetings is a good thing, and if you can keep it, it's a really good thing. I mean, if nothing else, it's backing you up, you know, who said what and when, and which can sometimes bite you, but anyway, I just wanted to give my 2 cents.
All right. The other half of the Geauga Power couple? No? Okay.
She's a torch with one.
Well, that festive Christmas tree shirt, should say something. Got that camera, so. Ms. Roman?
Nothing.
All right. Ms. List?
Yes, I do.
All right. Go for it. You got 2 minutes.
So, in regards to the recording thing, I think it has saved your behind several times, especially with that big March 22, was it? Yeah. So. Yeah, so, or 23, I don't know.
No, it might have been 23. You might have
A lot of people try to say a lot of things that didn't actually happen, and that video proved things. So, and I watch from home when I'm not here. You already know that, so. The other thing is with the rent, I know that you're gonna have to do budgets soon, so how long are you gonna wait? Are they gonna wait another year before they decide? what they're gonna do with all this. I mean, that's, you know. And then the other thing is, could you clarify what happened with the midwife thing and what did we find out? And was that a mess, or, I don't know if you can address it.
Yeah,
I think at this point we can address the
Okay.
midwife element.
we can or cannot?
Cannot.
Okay,
I guess I just have a question.
yeah.
Because we received a communication from the midwife team.
Mhm.
Doesn't that fall under public comment?
It would.
It was in the paper.
So, the board was sent a separate, it was mostly what was in the paper. There was
Yeah.
additional, like, state documents that were sent to you, is what midwifery is.
And a cover letter.
And a cover letter, yes.
So my question is, we tell our public that if they cannot attend the meeting to speak a public comment, that they can
Mhm.
send us an email
Mhm.
or information. Do we ever respond to that?
So I usually don't get much, unless it's like a document and I send it out to all of you immediately, because obviously I wouldn't want to give it here and then say, go ahead and make a comment. I know I update all of you. Dan and I did meet with the Middlefield Birthing Center, which is separate from what they're talking about. I think, personal opinion, I think what occurred is after our discussion, there was a possible thought process that Geauga Public Health or the Board of Health or myself or whoever, we were against midwifery in general.
Right.
And I clarified, and so did Dan, to the Middlefield Care Center, that's not what we're against.
Right.
There was a concern about the public brought to the board. We then, as a board, because we can only speak in open session,
Right.
we discussed that. It was not meant to defame anyone or to say anything negative. It was trying to gather facts. And I think, personally, if you're not in the public sector, you would assume that happens behind the scenes. You guys would talk and meet and discuss things. In the public sector, we can't do that. They can only meet in public session. So the first time you guys all had to talk about it and ask questions was in that meeting.
Right.
And as much as I try to make sure you guys are updated, I can't go back and forth via email with all of you either, because at some points it's a
Meeting
it's a
without.
straw meeting, more or
Right.
less. You guys are kind of like doing certain things. It's not the best term for it is, but it's kind of it's like a telephone line type
Yeah.
of meeting where
We
it's just
don't want to be in
Yeah,
violation
change.
of any
Hold
public
on, I
press
don't wanna
release.
get anybody in trouble. I was just
Yeah.
wondering if we figured out if they're
we
regulated somehow. Does someone
so
know?
so they are not. I have talked to myself and Mr. Graham have talked to darn near everyone we could think of, including the Board of Medicine, the Board of Nursing, Board of Pharmacy, the state, and I think somebody else. There's 5 or 6 total. And
Middlefield Birthing Center,
yeah,
when
and
you asked about.
and I asked the same thing for them, and there is no regulation on that. It's I'm not saying no
There's
regulation.
no state regulation,
Yeah.
but there are requirements.
Yes, there are requirements, but there's
Okay.
not, and I think, I'm assuming what you're getting at was what the board asked last time is there an oversight board? So is there a board of pharmacy, a board of
Right.
midwifery, a board of, to that, the answer was no, is our understanding.
Okay.
And the Board of Medicine confirmed they're not aware of anyone being oversight. So,
It just appeared like there was a lot of accusations going on without not a lot of knowledge.
Right.
yeah, so there's a lot of information brought to the Board of Health, and that discussion turned into like just asking questions. And then obviously I do my due diligence afterwards, because I called everyone I could think of, but that wasn't, we had some more thoughts of who else to call.
Right.
And so we definitely looked into the best we can. Personally, I'm asking for the Board of Health, and I think when Dan and I met with the Middlefield Care Center as an example, we just looked for like backup plans. So while we have no oversight, the main concern is if a mom has a problem, is there a way to get the baby taken care of if there's a problem?
Right.
And that's more our, because we have no oversight. But I think that's, as a father or a parent, everyone wants the best for a child, and so that's kind of what it came down to.
So maybe just talking with them and getting a plan in place.
Yeah, they have, we can't make them, if they wanted to tell us what their plan was, not that they have to anyways.
But you can suggest.
Yeah, and I think I think it was kind of in the minutes and it was afterwards, that, again, our concern is just for the children of Geauga County, and when someone levies an accusation, founded or unfounded, I don't hide that from the board. I want the board to be aware of,
Right.
hey, there could be an issue, and at the time, there was thought that the Board of Health had oversight over that, which we do not.
Right.
And then I'd take that to the board as well, because obviously I don't want the board hearing from a member of the public, you guys have oversight, you did nothing. And then they go, holy crap, I didn't even know we had oversight, Dad never told us.
Right, right.
We don't have that oversight.
Well, I do want to emphasize 2 points.
Mhm.
Number one, that we have no desire to disparage the name and
Mhm.
talents and skills of experienced midwives,
Right.
who, whether they are DEM, meaning that they are direct entry midwives, which don't require nursing certification or even specific rules in the state of Ohio for their training, but have years of experience and some training that they've had, or whether they're certified midwives, which go through a certification process but are still not nurses. I don't at any point in time want to have our comments misconstrued as disparaging their skill set and the valuable impact that they make on the community when care is done well.
Yes.
I'm probably the only person on this board who has delivered at least 50 children in my training and experience. And I know when things go very well in deliveries, they go very, very well. Unfortunately, occasionally things go very, very badly, very, very quickly. So my desire is to have a better understanding about what happens when things start to go very, very bad.
Right.
And it happens quickly, and I just want to make sure that whoever is providing midwifery services in our county has an appropriate plan for what to do when things are going bad. That there is a reach out to a higher level of care so that care isn't compromised. And I'm not accusing people in the county, because I have no direct evidence of this was all information brought to us at the board saying there were concerns raised, but at no point in time did we ever receive any specifics about the who, what, why, where, and how.
Right.
And it's very difficult, therefore, for us to be in that position supporting public health if we don't have the information about what those issues were. But I don't think we need that information. What we need is to understand that it's our expectation as a Board of Health that there be plans in place. And as I've read through the Ohio Revised Code, it appears that that is a requirement, that even exempted birthing centers have to have plans for when stuff happens. And it's also my understanding, having read through the Ohio Revised Code, specific citations that were provided by the midwifery organization that had reached out to us, that there is potentially a role for the administrator or director of the public health department for potentially arguing that correction has to be made if there's a deficit or a deficiency in the ability to carry through that support plan. So I don't know how in the weeds we want to go on that. I personally have no desire to try to administer that, make rules for that, or get in the weeds on that, but I believe that we still have an obligation as the board to have interest in, it's appropriate for us to have interest in, to make sure that whoever is providing midwifery services in the county has appropriate backup plans. Now, in your discussion with the team that you discussed with, did you get the sense that there were appropriate plans in place, appropriate elevation to hospital or 911 or other things in the event that stuff happened?
Yes, so we were, I'd gone to the Midfield Birthing Center a couple years ago. We used to do the Well Child Clinic out of there with Dr. Reed, and Dr. Cameron actually delivers out of there as well. So we have some experience with them. I've never gone through the entire building. We got a tour. They went through a lot of things. We spent probably an hour plus there. We asked a lot of questions. They had a lot of good answers. There was a doc on site, and he actually mentioned he's 15 minutes away, but he's the first call if anything goes wrong. So it was pretty well versed. I think they had a good setup in terms of how they handle things. I think our hope would be we reach out to the other midwives and see what their plans are. But it's that fine line of Dan and I aren't doctors. We don't practice medicine. and there's just that fine line of, where is our role in that? My main concern, as I mentioned, was when we were told potential injury to children, that's where my concern comes from, is if there is that, no different, but no different than if Dan heard someone's installing septic systems wrong every time at a certain point, we would just ignore it. We would probably bring it to you guys and say, hey, we're gonna talk to them, and we'd say, hey, this connection that you keep doing is wrong, you gotta fix how you connect these things. And we'd have that, as more of what we deal with is actually septic, but it's more of that aspect of like, if there is a deficiency in the county, can we assist with it? But at the same time, as you mentioned, I don't wanna be,
Micromanaging.
Yeah,
what they do on a day-to-day
yeah.
basis.
And again, to clarify, the Middlefield Birthing Center is a different entity than the Middlefield Midwifery LLC group that has also been discussed. And again, not just in healthcare, but any element or pattern or process of life, it is always best to stop and think before you engage in something and have a plan and backups for the best possible outcomes, social outcomes, bad outcomes, and horrible outcomes. Because then you're ready and you have organization and elements to prevent. And that's what I would hope everyone would expect of everything.
Right.
And would also be demonstrated in the activity of this group.
Atul Gawande is a physician, cardiac thoracic surgeon, who wrote a book called Checklist. And I was fortunate to be able to listen to him speak live in person when that book came out. And he posed this question. He said, would you rather have surgery at a hospital in which it goes right every time? They have 100% success with everything they do for that surgery. Or would you rather have surgery done at a hospital where it's 88% successful, but if something goes wrong, they know exactly what needs to be done to fix what was going wrong, and they have 100% success fixing it? And his answer to the question was, you should have your surgery at the hospital that has the 88% success rate. Because the hospital that has the 100% success rate never has the opportunity to experience when stuff hits the fan. And you want someone in that instance, when there's a crisis in the delivery, that there is a plan and experience of how you manage that, and you do that like a skilled professional should. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking not to say that because something went wrong, that is something that is actionable and we should be trying to investigate that. What I'm looking to see is that if something does go wrong, that there's an appropriate plan in place to anticipate that, to act accordingly with a steady hand and best use of that decades of experience that at least the providers who reached out to us said that they had. That's what I think should be the standard.
Understood.
And a plan that has proven solutions with the team members, the elements to do that, and always works to improve as each day goes by.
Right.
Is it the board's responsibility, though, to make sure that there's a plan in place? I'm assuming, because I missed obviously a meeting.
We still are
But I
looking
didn't
into it,
have
but
something.
it's not my understanding it's our responsibility. It is,
It's something that we could
yeah.
get involved in, but only in the guise, from what my read of this, is if we felt that corrective action was needed, or that we were calling them out of compliance, I think
Yeah.
is the term that they used. And I don't have any information to be able to
Yeah, and
state any of
Is-
that.
we probably have talked to the prosecutor's office, and I'm going to assume most counties don't have a large number of midwives. I'm making an assumption based on the data that I had
Exactly.
available when I was going through, like, more or less Googling midwifery and going through different things and doing the IRS code. So it's not maybe something that every health department experiences where there's this like, oh yeah, here's what you do. So they're, yeah.
Of the two groups, do we have one group that's got certified nurse midwives and the other group?
No.
does-
So the Middlefield Birthing Center has a doc, I'm not saying it's on site every time, but there sounds like there's multiple doctors, they have a board of directors, a medical director, and some other stuff. I didn't get every single person's credentials though, but they have, again, I only know this because we met with them. That's the only reason I know, is we physically met with them.
So
The
there
director
is-
of nursing. And
Yeah, director of nursing, yeah, they seem very well versed. They have 6 beds there, I won't say off the top of my head is what the count was, so.
But even within that organization, I don't have enough information to know what degree of midwifery credentialing they have.
Yeah.
In the state of Ohio, it's relatively flexible. It was purposely designed to exempt birthing centers like the Amish Birthing Center here from that tight regulation. It's left to discretion, and it's left to common sense in a small community like ours.
And I want to show, like, we're not promoting one or the other. Dan
Right.
and I just happened to be invited to meet with one. We met with one. I'm bringing that information to you because I think it's important that if we meet with the public or a center, you guys should at least have the knowledge we met with somebody. So if they go, oh yeah, I met with Dan and Adam, you guys like, I have no idea what you're talking about. They never told us once they met with you guys. I think that's important. But again, they gave us a warm introduction and a very good review of how they do things.
Right.
And it seemed from our layman's perspective, it seemed like a responsible use. So that's just that one.
Right.
Before we adjourn, I do have something for Mrs. Brakey. So from the Board of Health, I'm gonna trip over this board here.
A plaque for your wall.
Yeah, you can kill a plant now. We have 2 things.
Accredited.
So I learned from Ron, you always do one funny thing that makes you laugh, and then you do one serious thing that they can actually take pride in. But so we do have.
Motion to adjourn.
Denied. We do have a more or less a plaque for Miss Brakey. It says, to Kaylin Brakey, thank you for your dedicated service to Geauga County. It will have a lasting impact. And so this is for her time on the board. We greatly appreciate it. And then, because you have something funny as well, and I figured she'd get a kick out of it, and Amazon, you can find literally anything on Amazon. There is the goat, and it is to Kaylin Brakey from Geauga Public Health and the Board of Health. And it's a goat with sunglasses and a chain that says goat on it with a crown. So that.
Oh, I should have had a mask.
I don't want to get punched. I just want her to say thank you. So there is that.
Thank you.
This is Mrs. Brakey's last board meeting.
I'll
So
put it in my new office.
thank you. And I will, after we adjourn, I will get a picture of all you. And I know Ashley's not here. I'll get a picture of you because we'll post that and nice, just something about everybody. So other than that, that's all I had for the board meeting, though.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn, for everything you've done.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Otherwise, motion to adjourn.
There's no executive.
No
Motion.
executive. Motion.
Motion
Second.
to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? All right. If I can, I'll turn the TV off. If I can get you guys to stand back by TV, I'll take a picture of you guys. I brought my